Relief washed over the faces of the outpost soldiers the moment they saw Lu Fan. They knew the battle wouldn't last much longer now. However, their gaze soon shifted to the little girl standing beside Lu Fan. One soldier asked in astonishment, "Hey Lu Fan, is this your little sister? Was she the one who unleashed that meteor shower earlier?" Hearing this, Xiao-Ji giggled. She puffed out her chest proudly and said, "Yes, I was the one who dropped the meteors, but I'm not his sister. He is my master." Everyone was stunned when they heard her speak. What? She can talk? And she has wings too? Some even began rubbing their eyes in disbelief. They couldn't quite fathom what kind of being this girl standing before them was. One soldier whispered, "Is she some kind of dragon pet?" Another looked at Lu Fan with envy. "If I had a pet like that, my life would be set." Jealousy and amazement were clearly visible on everyone's faces, but just then, Lu Fan's attention was drawn to his status window. A new notification was flashing there. Extraordinary treasure map acquired. Lu Fan's eyes lit up. He had been waiting for a sign like this for a long time. According to the map, the treasure lay in the same direction where the senior student and the others were located. He made an immediate decision. Turning to the officers, he said, "Hold your ground, leave the fighting here to me." The officers bowed respectfully. "Thank you for your help, Lu Fan." Lu Fan waved his hand and moved forward with Xiao-Ji. On the way, she smiled and said, "Come on, Xiao-Ji, let's go to Big Sister." Shortly after, they arrived at the area where a fierce battle was raging. As soon as Xiao-Ji spotted another swarm of butterflies, she activated her power without wasting a moment. Meteor Shower! The sky turned red once again. Within seconds, dozens of meteors rained down, engulfing the entire swarm in flames. When the smoke cleared, not a single butterfly remained alive. Seeing this, Lu Fan chuckled. Leveling up with Xiao-Ji has truly become so easy. And indeed, Xiao-Ji had leveled up again thanks to the experience she had just gained. Bouncing with joy, she moved forward alongside Lu Fan. A while later, the two finally reached their family and companions. Meanwhile, Lu Fan's friends and family were still locked in a fierce battle with the monsters. Lu Fan stood at a distance, watching it all unfold with a faint smile on his face. Then he looked at Xiao-Fei and said, "Xiao-Fei, show them your new power." Upon hearing this, Xiao-Fei became excited. She immediately raised her hand toward the sky and activated her new ability, Celestial Meteor Power. The very next moment, an immense pressure spread across the entire area. It felt as though the sky itself had descended upon the earth. The monsters which had been attacking ferociously just moments ago suddenly froze in place. None of them could move forward. None could even lift a claw. The gravitational force in the surroundings had completely shifted. Everyone was astonished by the sight. One person asked in a panic, "What is happening?" Another replied, looking around, "I don't know, but it feels like some invisible force is pinning them down. They can't even move." Just then, Aunt Han spotted Lu Fan standing in the distance. But before she could say anything, Xiao-Fei jumped up with joy. "Big sister!" She ran over to Aunt Han and threw her arms around her. Then, with an innocent look on her face, she said, "I'm so hungry. I'm starving." Aunt Han was completely stunned. She looked first at Xiao-Fei, then at Lu Fan. Her expression clearly showed her confusion. After all, until recently, Xiao-Fei had been just an ordinary dragon. But now, she was speaking, and she was clinging to her just like a younger sister complaining to her older sister. The others standing nearby were also stunned. Silence hung in the air for a few moments. Then someone quietly asked, "Wait, is that really Xiao-Ji?" At that question, everyone's eyes turned toward Lu Fan in unison. Everyone was completely stunned to hear Xiao-Fei speak. They couldn't believe their ears. After all, until recently, she had been a dragon, yet now she was speaking just like a human. Jianying was also taken aback. "Wait, how is this happening?" she asked in astonishment. Lu Fan simply smiled and said, "Let's sit down and then I'll explain everything." A short while later, everyone gathered at a safe house in Sector 64. Once everyone was seated, Lu Fan began to recount the events of the past few days in detail. Silence filled the room as soon as he finished speaking. Then Senior Sister spoke in a grave tone. "Professor Ouyang is actually an ancient goddess of the void." Upon hearing this, everyone's expressions changed. Aunt Yang, Jianying, and the others looked at each other in disbelief, but throughout all this, Xiao-Fei sat calmly, eating her meal. Aunt Yang took a deep breath and asked, "So, does this mean Lu Fan has now become an ancient deity? And does Xiao-Fei have her own status panel too?" Xiao Oman, sitting nearby, clutched her forehead. "Just a moment." My brain is still trying to wrap itself around what you people are actually saying. Kimco nodded as well. This all sounds like a story to me. Can someone clearly explain what is actually going on? All eyes turned to Lu Fan. Lu Fan began to explain in a calm voice. I participated in Professor Ouyang's plan. As part of that plan, I completed the necessary ritual and obtained the power of an ancient deity. The atmosphere in the room turned serious once again. Lu Fan continued, if we are to avert the impending destruction, we must take the place of the ancient gods who are awakening. For this, I need trustworthy allies. He looked at everyone. Senior 2 and Commander Shu have already joined this plan. They are currently tracking down the locations of the other ancient gods, and I want all of you to join us as well. Upon hearing this, Senior Sister remained lost in thought for a while. Then, looking at Lu Fan with a serious expression, she asked, Lu Fan, are you saying that unless someone takes the place of those ancient gods, the destruction of the world will never be stopped? Silence fell over the room once more at this question. After hearing what Lu Fan had to say, silence filled the room for a while. Then Senior Sister was the first to break the silence. She looked at Lu Fan and said, if you already know about this and have decided to walk this path, then I'll join you too. Hearing this, Jian Ying smiled as well. I'm not particularly worried either. If doing this is necessary to save the world, then I'm with you too. Gradually, the others in the room began to express their agreement. Almost everyone was ready to be part of the plan. Just then, Aunt Han said something that silenced everyone for a moment. She spoke in a soft voice, you all are my family. I have no one else left. Wherever you go, I'll go too. The atmosphere in the room turned emotional at her words. Then she suddenly asked, but does attaining the divine rank really require such a huge sacrifice? Oman immediately shook his head. No, that's not the case. If that were true, I could never have left my parents behind. After that, everyone began discussing the topic. Some felt excitement, while others harbored doubts. But Lu Fan calmed everyone down and said, listen, I'm not pressuring anyone. This is a huge decision, so take your time to think it over. You don't need to answer right now. He smiled faintly. The search for the ancient gods isn't a task that can be finished in a day or two. We have time. Saying this, he stood up and brushed the dust off his clothes. Then, looking at Aunt Han, he said, by the way, I'm about to upgrade my dragons further. If you come along with me, you could reach level 90 very quickly. Auntie Han fell silent for a moment upon hearing this. Then she gently shook her head. No, Lu Fan, I won't go. A hint of sadness appeared in her eyes. Seeing corpses and battlefields everywhere, it still isn't easy for me. Lu Fan laughed upon hearing this. All right, I understand. Then he said in a playful tone, I've realized now that my aunt isn't cut out for the battlefield at all. A ripple of light laughter echoed through the room at his words. Just then, Senior Sister spoke up seriously. Lu Fan, monster attacks have been steadily increasing lately. And to be honest, I don't find the current security arrangements at the support outpost satisfactory at all. She paused for a moment before continuing. That's why I won't be going with you. I need to go back and reinforce the security there. Then she looked at Sister Horn. And Sister Horn will come with me. Lu Fan nodded. All right, sister, do whatever you think is best. He then looked at everyone in the room and said, that's all for today. Everyone should get some rest. We'll set out tomorrow morning. Everyone nodded in agreement. After a day filled with battles and discussions, everyone was exhausted. Gradually, they all retired to their respective rooms. Before long, the entire house fell silent. But at that very moment, in another room within Sector 64, a group of people had gathered. The windows were shut, and the atmosphere was incredibly tense. It seemed they were about to discuss a matter of great importance.